So here we are at week 8. It's been 2 months since the apocalypse, and as always, I'm Professor Hardin. Wow, the last 2 weeks have been quite busy. We'll start on the good news. It seems that we've had a number of reports from my own people included that the power station has now been fortified by the Magpies. For those of you who don't know them, they're a group of scavengers. Very heavily armoured chaps in riot gear. Some very nice guns that still work. They have taken the power station, not in a aggressive way. They seem to be saying that anyone's welcome to come and go as they please. They're just there to make sure that no one tries to take it as their own, with their heavily armed squad of guards. The Veil of Transcendence have sent some of their more organised chaps to assist in the running of the place. Obviously, the Veil don't have a huge amount of scientists, but they have been running a community for quite some time, I'm told, with a lot of interconnected families and such. So they're quite well prepared for the job. All we really need now is people who are experienced in this sort of thing, the running and the perhaps rejigging of the power station, as well as some knowledge of the processes that need to be taken part going forward. You may have noticed the brownouts are starting to get worse. Moments where we have no power for an hour, perhaps 2. So obviously batteries are quite highly sought after at the moment. We have had reports, however, of petrol generators being attacked, and by nanoclouds. So be careful if you're creating a large amount of non-natural energy in a short amount of time. Now, obviously, the attack on Mineton, which I'm sure many of you have heard about, if not contributed to in some form. Detachment of the Lord Fairfax's regiment, armed with pike and shot, made their way to Mineton, joined by the Steelford militia, as well as a detachment of what we can only assume is the Cybrid Vigor. You can't miss them. Some of them have replaced body parts with weaponry. Large amounts of cybernetics here and there. I suppose the time for being quiet is out the window. But that being said, they came well armed and with a lot of people. I had reports that the individuals calling themselves the Nameless had also been seen on the walls of Mineton, assisting. They all seem to wear these metallic masks that some of you may have seen in the video, or at least I'm hoping they're masks. Yes, so Mountain Muties had been attacking Mineton for quite some time now, and the last week or so has seen a huge upswing in assaults on the settlement. Now, as we've previously discussed, the Mountain Muties are not especially well armed, but what they are is incredibly large, incredibly resistant, and incredibly aggressive. They have some rudimentary understanding of the world, enough that they could put together petrol bombs, which they were using to assault the walls. Just tweak my camera there for a second so I don't keep jogging it with my knee. So yes, Mineton was being attacked. No one in, no one out, really. Which does make me wonder how the Nameless got in, but I'm sure that's their business more than anything else. Yes, so the Liberation army that arrived took to the field. Some of them attempted to clear a path to get inside Mineton to help take the walls, to make sure that there were defended towers, etc., etc. Where, however, the Cybrid seemed to take a more aggressive response, directly attacking the Mountain Muties. Now, from what I've heard, with a combined effort of the Nameless, Lord Fairfax's regiment, Cybrid Vigor, Mineton, and the Stilford Militia, Mineton has now been liberated. They're looking at improving their defences and potentially seeing if they can deal with the Mountain Mutie threat. Many of them were driven off, if not killed. But according to the Mineton scouts who we spoke to, there are still a lot of Mountain Muties, so do be careful when travelling around or in the mountains, especially in the mountains. I heard reports that the Cybrid's aggressive attack had unforeseen consequences, which led to heavy damage on both sides, with the Cybrid having to retreat from the battle. Hopefully they haven't been too badly affected by this. But I've also heard that some of the muties have followed them off the mountain. So do be especially careful. Added onto all the other problems running around at the moment. Mountain muties off the mountain. The Hospitalers, following on from my previous broadcast, seem to have taken quite a bit of damage to their vehicles and have now made a more semi-permanent base with the Veil of Transcendence. I'm certain I'm not causing any problems by letting people know where they can find the Hospitalers if they need them. I'm sure the Doctor would back me up on that. But if anyone does have any form of aid, again, I urge you to seek out the Hospitalers and assist them. The Steaders north of the river seem to have quite recently fortified themselves quite well. We've seen some migrations of trained engineers from various encampments around the wasteland, making their way to the Steaders. So good for that, I suppose. The reason they need these engineers, I suspect I know. I hope I know, but obviously I can't say for certain. No sign of Yellow Jacket Raiders, which is obviously a good thing. It seems that a lot of the grasslands around the forest, around the river, have been expanding quite rapidly again. I just want to make sure that people are aware of this. If they see any strangely moving plant life, just err on the side of caution. Any plant life you don't recognise, stay away from. We've started seeing some of the ruins that these areas are becoming overgrown in, aggressively taken apart. So even if you're indoors, please be aware that that doesn't necessarily mean you're safe from the violent growths. We have heard reports of some sort of monster in the river as well. No doubt affected by the nanomachines. So do be careful if you're in the water. And again, always check your sources of water before drinking. River water still persists to be tainted with nanomachines. I think that's long enough for me to have been waffling on for now. As always, stay safe. Test your water, test your food. Avoid any dangerous looking plants. Be aware of raiders, even though we have a bit of a quiet moment for that. And look after each other.